It's 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Woohoo! Yeah, baby, here we go. And thank you, fake audience. Thank you, fake band. Fake. Like the news. There we go. In that chat room, let's say hello to Darren Moss, Bob Gunnerfeld, Dan Weber, Jesse J. Peck. The shirt matches the vase again today. Not by intent. I really don't think I'm not like that together. Let's see. Martin Gravel, Andre Stepania, and Sherry Marcus Milano. How are you, Sherry? Terrell Burt. Yeah, baby. John Pearson. The gang is all here. Bonzo. Sup. Oh, man. It's my favorite fishing shirt. Oh, the turquoise. Who makes them? My wife has the fishing shirt in turquoise, although she wears it for going out for a brisk walk, not so much for fishing. Lucian Lewis. Let's see, who else do we have in there? No, she doesn't use the Sims. I can't, whatever. I can't remember the name of it. Hello, Spiritual Nancy. How are you? Jesse noticed right off the bat. Breaking news, the taxi smashes into the wall. Yeah, I wanted to give you like the taxi, Columbia, thank you. Taxi driving off into the distance. Columbia, yeah, she's got the Columbia turquoise shirt. Hello, Il Rosso. How are you, Marion? All right, so today, I think it was JP that asked this the other day or suggested it somewhere in the comments. First of all, while I'm thinking of it right now, could you guys all go hit that thing? Give us a like. Not that we get a huge audience for this thing, but more and more people, when they join Taxi, are referencing that Taxi TV was what convinced them that we're real. So I've got to believe, thank you guys, I've got to believe that when people like it, our videos tend to show up in that sidebar or in searches that people do on YouTube. So, lets them get to know us a little better. I think it's coming out in this month's newsletter, which should be out in about 2 or 3 days. I know I've done all my stuff at this point. It's in final edit stage and the layout stage and all that stuff. But I included a video by a young man named Chase Freedom that did one of the best kind of like describing what Taxi does and what it doesn't do. And he says, yeah, a lot of people think it's a scam, but it's not. And he does like an 8-minute, 9-minute video that I thought was really good. So we're featuring it in the newsletter. Hello, Martin Gravel. Hello, Rick White. Okay, so, hello, Edmund. Just put my makeup on. My nose is still shiny, but my forehead, well, yeah, a little bit. You can actually see the reflection of the window. See, right about there. You got the reflection of the window. Hello, John Hope. No, that newsletter's not live now. It will be out. Today is Tuesday, the 25th, so it will probably come out like Thursday or Friday would be my guess. Stephen Memmel's great, man. The guy is so good at what he does. So JP mentioned, I think it was JP mentioned a few days ago in the comments that we should talk about genres that you guys do, but I want to start out with asking you guys, everybody who does instrumental cues for TV, hit me with a +1. Curious to see kind of what the balance is between instrumental cues and songs. So if you do instrumental cues, if that's your main thing, I realize people do other stuff, but Yeah, instrumental cues mostly give me a +1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's it. Okay. And how many of you do songs that you're trying to pitch for artists on record labels, not film and TV, but songs that you'd like some big artist to cut? Oh yeah, +1, if that describes you. And now the chat room is dead. Oh, there we go. Crash Gates. Marion, I don't have a column in my spreadsheet for I used to, but not anymore. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so not so many. It seems like our members have gotten less and less interested in pursuing the big cuts with the major label artists. It's definitely gotten harder because now you've got to be in a writer's camp. Hello, Donna Thomas, Rennie Beer, Ron Schultz. So let me ask you one more thing, and then I want to tell you about something interesting going on in the background at Taxi. Okay, how many of you write songs for media, be it film, TV, commercials, whatever? So +1 if you do songs for any type of media. My skin tone looks fabulous today. Woo! John Pearson, Robert Orzechowski. I moved that cab just for you today, Orzechowski. I'll tell you what I mean, writer's camp, in a minute. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Rolling in. Okay, so hello, Lori Wynn. How are you? Okay, so it's about even on people pitching songs for film and TV versus people doing instrumentals. Sorry, my ears are plugged up. I blew my nose about a minute before we went on air, and my ears went. Okay. All right, so, just when I'm personally thinking that hope is all but lost for new writers to get involved with a writer's camp or, get a cut with a big artist, I got a call the other night. A very good friend of mine, we've only been friends for about 5-6 years probably, but he's a legit hit songwriter with hits, big cuts, some hits out there, and he's one of those people that moves in that glorious circle of people who write in writers' camps for big artists. He can pretty much navigate get to any of the big pop artists that are on the charts, and mostly he's a top liner that mostly does pop R&B, I would say, is his main thing. Pop, straight up pop / sometimes pop R&B influenced. Anyway, we were really lacking in having a really strong pop screener. We had two, one of whom moved back to the UK and didn't want to work remotely in another time zone. Another one is working on a big record or something right now, so is out of the loop for, we don't know if it's going to be 30 days or 120 days. We just don't know. I'm not killing the dream. I'm just saying that it's tough. Look, new writers have to come from somewhere. It's not going to be the same 100 people with hits over and over and over again for the next 5 years or 10 years. New writers always do bubble up. So here's a case of how it happens. So I reached out to my friend, the hit songwriter with hits on big charts, with big artists, and said to him, is there any chance that you would have any time, even if you can only throw like 1 day a week or 2 days a week at 4 hours a shift, to do some screening for us? It doesn't have to be forever, just for a while now, because we need some help in pop stuff for record labels. And he said, let me think about it. Called me back a couple days later, and he said, you know what? And he told me something that I'd forgotten, that when he moved to Los Angeles from the Midwest, probably like 12, 15 years ago, the first thing he did when he got here was he joined Taxi. So he and I've played golf a couple times, and he mentioned this. I'd forgotten that he mentioned it to me on a golf course a couple of years ago. And I went, wow, that's right. So you know the drill. You've seen the critiques from our screeners, and I know that you've got the craft. So would you consider doing it? So he pondered for a day or two. He got back to me, and he said, okay, I'm in. So he took the screener test. Tom and the folks in the A&R department, Tom and Angela, I think, administered the Taxi screener test. We actually do test them before they can be a screener. We want to see if they've got ears. Number one, I knew he would have ears. And we want to see if they're able to communicate in a truthful yet supportive way to the members. We tell them, don't blow smoke, be honest. But, like some of my friends in Nashville, they sound short. Not short-tempered, but they sound short when they would critique. We have some remote screeners in Nashville right now, but we've had some in the past. They're like, nah, this doesn't meet the bar. But that's the way they talk to each other in Nashville, and nobody takes offense, because that's the speed at which the industry moves, and people are just truthful. There's no point. They're not in the business of coddling or hand-holding or making you feel good. They'll just say, nope, not good enough. Chorus ain't working for me. This lyric doesn't add up, whatever. So this guy passed for flying colors immediately. They were like, wow, this guy is awesome. So probably 2 to 3 weeks into his screening time at Taxi, he called me up the other night, and he goes, I just heard a chorus that has the potential to be a hit for a big-time artist in the pop world. And is it possible for me to maybe get introduced to that Taxi member? And I said, yeah, but we actually do have a mechanism in place. If a screener hears something that she or he would like to pursue on their own, the rule is they've got to do it through us. So we've got a record of it, number one. And number two, that got to remember, he was screening for another company. So we still have to forward it to that company. We can't let the screeners skim the good stuff off the top and not have it go to the company that requested the music. So he said, fine. So it was he had already forwarded it to the company. And anyway, he and I were on the phone today for about 20 minutes, I guess. And he's just totally stoked. He said, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So I called the member, I don't know, an hour ago maybe. It's a female member, and she's in Canada, and she was in the middle of work, so we're going to talk after I get off the show today. But he said, look, I don't know if she's the kind of person that would rather just like not get involved, because, when you go into a writer camp, as he told me on the phone, he said, look, this is liable to be split 3 ways or 4 ways. But he works with like the cream of the crop pop hit songwriters here in LA. I don't know if he has any reach to New York or not, but definitely in the LA writer camp circuit, he's a dude, he's a player. So anyway, I'm going to call her back after I get off the show today, and she's got to make a decision. It's a very personal decision. Does she want to keep 100% of the publishing on it? The chorus is the standout thing. I mean, when you hear the chorus, you go, yep, That could be, it's not just a great chorus, it's a classic chorus, but it's not perfect yet. So he and I talked about it. He said I can get it to DJs that would take it as it is and rework it. Of course, they'd want a piece of it. Or, you know, do I take the route of going to a writer camp where there could be two or three other writers on it and a producer building the track and everybody gets a piece? And obviously her piece would get diluted in the process of that. My personal feeling is she should do that because chances are she can get her foot, as John Pearson's saying, man, to get a foot into that room. Yep. Is exactly it. And I don't know if this lady is aware enough or seasoned enough. Could be that she's kind of an isolated homebound musician and doesn't know about writer camps and doesn't know that this is how hit songwriters are born, if you will. So we'll see. Hopefully she makes that choice. I'm not going to try and twist her arm. I'm going to say, you know, you. What I'd like to say is you can keep 100% of, you know, by the averages will be 100% of nothing. Although I'm sure that this song would get forwarded over and over by taxi, but this is exactly what you want to have happen is somebody who is a legit top 10% player in the industry saying, I can do something with this song. So I hope she makes that decision, but I'm not going to encourage her one way or the other. This is awesome. More screeners like this. So if you can only get into today's pop world through a camp, try for more screeners and camps. Believe me, I mean, some of the people that we've used in Nashville are perfectly capable. If they hear a hit, they're absolutely capable of picking up a phone or emailing it to a bunch of friends. We've had that happen. Look, Buy Me a Rose, the Kenny Rogers hit, which had to be at least 10 years ago now, happened because of a small independent publisher hearing the song when it was called Little Things, played on a panel at the Taxi Road Rally. And he made the comment, this song will get cut someday and I'll bet it's going to be a hit. And the two writers happened to be in the ballroom for that panel, and as they should have been if they were hoping that their song would get played on the panel. So luck was with them. It got randomly pulled, and that panelist loved it. And they went up to the panelist and said, well, if you think it's a hit, would you be our publisher? And he said, sure. And he plugged that song for, I don't know, a couple of years at least. And the inside scoop that I got from him was that Kenny Rogers said when he finally decided to cut it, he said, why haven't you played this for me before? And he said, I have, like 7 other times. Let's see. And then there was the case, I'm going to retell this story because I see people saying, we need more of these inspiring stories. Which one was it? Elliott Park, a song called I Loved Her First that also went to number 1 on the country charts. That was a case of me playing it for somebody. I believe it was, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but I'm sure John Pearson would know him. I'm not giving out the screener number. Oh, man. I'll answer that too in a minute about the panel at the Road Rally. Anyway, that was a case of me playing something for the vice president of, I think, RCA. It was a long time ago. And he said, this writer's the real deal. Get him to Nashville. I left the meeting. I called the writer. I had him meet me in Nashville 10 days later. We got him 22 meetings with publishers ranging from strong, small independents up to the big boys, the biggest of the big boys. And after all those meetings, I think he was offered 6 or 7 publishing deals, some of them right on the spot. He was not a pro writer. He was not even an experienced writer, but he had craft. He figured it out on his own. And he had a unique sound, a unique voice. And I don't just mean like this kind of voice. I mean a voice as a writer, something that was commercial yet sounded original and fresh and unique and authentic. He had a lot of authenticity. when he wrote a song, especially when he sang the demo, you went, yep, that dude is country. And that's what they want in Nashville. They want people. They don't want somebody from Chicago or New York or, God forbid, LA trying to sound like their country. They want somebody who actually lives the life, because you can't write that authentically unless you live in that world. Maybe there have been a few exceptions, but man, if you're not from like Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, somewhere in the South, you probably don't live that life that you need to relate to people in the song. Anyway, he signed with a small publishing company, which I can name now because I believe they're out of business. I think they got absorbed by somebody else. It was called Extreme Writers Group. And he made the decision to sign with them. They were the smallest. They were through, under the umbrella of a bigger publisher, I believe. But he made the decision to go with them because they were, how can I say it? I don't know that they were even evangelical Christians, but they were church-going Christians and lived that life. They were believers. And so was he. And he said, I would feel most comfortable working with people that I can relate to. And they've had some big cuts. They've had a couple hits. So he signed with them. And for the next 2 years or more, it was crickets. It was those. A lot of those. Anyway, finally they got a cut. It was on a little independent label with... I can't remember the name of the band, but an indie label and a band that was unheard of. And it crawled up the charts at a snail's pace until it finally hit number one. And then Elliott never got another cut. The guys who wrote Buy Me a Rose never got another cut. Okay, so going back to the question, are we going to do the listening panels at the Road Rally? I haven't selected the exact tech company that we're going with. But both of them, I've described in great detail to them that I need to be able to play music and have 3 or 4 panelists chiming in remotely in real time with no weird delays or anything. And they said, yes, we can absolutely do that. So as of right now, I'm saying I'm going to call it 90% because I hate to give 100% on anything. 90% sure we're going to have some listening panels. So there you go. Crawling up the chart is good. Better mechanicals. There you go. And back then there still were mechanicals. So there you go. Those are my little stories for today. Oh no, I feel another sneeze coming on. Sorry. It's the powder I put on my nose. Not the powder I put up my nose. Powder I put on my nose, and it's still shiny. Yeah, I've got to really hunker down and start working on the Road Rally because these companies need from me a play-by-play of every day. They need to see, first, the intro. I need to get a video graphic built for the intros. I've already got the music from Keith LeBrant, but I've got to give him the timings of what I need. I've got to decide which panels in which order, reach out to people to confirm them, have to think about which slots the half-hour sponsor-driven, like equipment demos are going to go in, all that stuff. So a lot of work, and I need to really hunker down. What key was that? I don't know what you mean. What do you mean, what key? Oh, my nose blowing. I don't know. Gee, I should have opened up a tuner in my browser and I could have seen. You look weird with white powder on your face. Let's not talk about that. I don't want to get us banned from YouTube. The nose blow, yeah. So anyway, what's up with you guys? Any big questions? Any deep thoughts? Yeah, right now it's looking like we will be able to see multiple people on the screen at the same time for the road rally. They have both of these companies, and a third one just reached out to me, have assured me that that's doable. But once again, the tech on our end is not the problem. It's really the tech on the end of the people that you're bringing into that grid of people. You know, how's their bandwidth at home? Is their 14-year-old son going to go home and start playing an online video game via Wi-Fi? Can they plug in, hey, Scott Hansen, can they plug in on Ethernet to eliminate that problem? So there's all that stuff. Excuse me. Scott Hansen just got off of work? I thought you're in the restaurant business, and it's only, what, either 6:25 or 7:25. Why are you off of work so early? Rennie Bear, this road rally will be as good as it can be being virtual, but it's going to be missing one component. At least, you know, the road rally is education and networking. It's, I believe, virtually impossible for the networking to be as good. I mean, you guys are clearly networking in the chat room and have gotten to know each other, but the networking at the road rally, in the lobby bar, in the elevators, in the concourse outside of the ballroom, in the back of the ballroom, all these places, the restaurant, if you're on the 11th or 12th floor, the lounge, you know, for the upgraded rooms is a great place to meet people. So, you know, it's not going to be as much networking, but there will be some networking. Are we having a virtual bar? You know, I know that there's a pretty good chance that Music Pro Insurance is going to sponsor 3 performance nights after the panels are done on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night after the rally wraps. And we'll probably, I don't know if we're going to run a listing for that or send out an email, but they're going to want some input. It will be taxi members, but they're going to want some input as to who plays, because they don't want to put their name on something and have it be not great talent. So it's not going to be the same as an open mic where anybody who gets there, you know, first come, first serve, gets their name on a list, gets to get up there. There have been people that have mentioned in the chat, I think Linda Cullum mentioned it the other day, she sent me an email about, oh, I forget what she said was a great way to do some sort of open mic thing. I may actually just have you guys put that on. I may have you guys actually handle it, you know. I don't know that I'm going to have the wherewithal to be involved after, you know, starting my days at 7 a.m. and wrapping them at like 8 p.m. 3 days in a row. I don't know if I'm going to want to hang out on a virtual open mic until 2 in the morning LA time. I don't know. Keep an eye on listing. That's the way to go if you are in the mailing. Oh, I see Marion's giving good advice. Solid advice. Thanks, Marion. Yes. Jesse, you can call the office number right now. Actually, Liz would normally take that call, but she's busy moderating the show, so chances are my wife is at the office, which I find really ironic that I'm working from home and my wife is at the office. On your video about 6 figures after ASCAP, how would I publish my composing for film and games? I don't really understand that question. Right, exactly. Without having the presidential suite, the road rally, I do run up there at the end of the day, man, when I'm done with that last thing in the ballroom and I've shaken some hands and talked to old friends and stuff. Rather than going out to dinner or heading to the bar, I run up to the room and just turn on the TV, put my feet up, and just enjoy the fact that I don't have any spittle flying at me from drunk people in the bar, which this year would be a problem. I've got a stash of Rockstar sitting in our garage. We've probably got a dozen cases of Rockstar that we were going to drop off at one of the local firehouses, and somehow it's never made it there. As I mentioned before, flavors that I don't personally like all that much, but hopefully firemen and policemen will. I should say fire people and police people, I guess. And then at the office, we've probably still got a couple dozen cases. So we're good. And I'm pretty sure I could call Rockstar up and just say, hey, I'm actually going to hit them up to see if they'll sponsor the road rally anyway, because they generally give us cash and drinks. So I'm going to see if they would be kind enough to give us some cash sponsorship this year. And if they want to send a case or two of my favorite flavor to the house, I will be more than happy to hold them up instead of this vitamin water, which is probably my most frequently consumed drink. I don't get a buzz from Rockstars. I really don't. I don't know why. Scott just became a dealer for Truly. Loved the black cherry. Wow. Scott Hansen, dealer. So what else? Does Rockstar have infused drinks? I don't know. I honestly don't know. We do need some Rockstar burps. Oh, here comes that sneeze again. I'm trying to blow my nose so I don't have the sneeze on air. You know what would be really embarrassing is to have a snort, an on-air snort. That would be horrible. So there you go. That's why I'm blowing my nose in advance of the snort. Not sure why that repeated. That's okay. I'm not offended by your repeat. King Visuals, you need to go to taxi.com and click on the link at the top in the menu bar that says how we do it or how taxi works. And typing in all caps in a chat room, not a good look. I'm not trying to be cruel, but there's it's not like, hey man, I'm going to give you the answer right now and you're going to just like get off the show and go do it. And like next Wednesday, you're going to get a private jet because your stuff's going to be all over the air. All these people hanging out in here have worked long and hard. It's a process. It's a marathon, not a sprint, as we're often heard to say. Slurps, burps, and nose blows. That's why people think Taxi is real after watching Taxi TV. Absolutely. Scott Hansen. Oh, man. I just placed, where'd that go? I just placed that snort in a song of mine called You Broke My Snort. Oh, man. There, I just killed the audience. Unbreak my snort. Okay, what else? Any questions? Because we've still got 26 minutes of hanging out. Oh, I do have really important news. I went to the DMV this morning because I'm trying to renew my license. And this is one of the renewals where you actually have to go in and take the test. But also you get the real ID, which is now mandatory. So my birthday's coming up early next week, and I need to get this sucker renewed. So I went online and did what I could DMV-wise as far as the renewal. And then it said, don't come in for renewal. But they're telling me I have to come in because I have to bring a birth certificate and, like my electric bill, my social security card and all that stuff. in order to get the renewal with the real ID. Unfortunately, it won't let me make a reservation for renewal. So I went there this morning, and the line in 95 degrees and blazing hot sun was 3 hours long. Boy, am I glad the government doesn't run health insurance. You know, why is it so hard for the DMV to get their act together? I don't get it. So tomorrow morning I'm getting up at 6, and I'm going to go over there and jump in line at 7 a.m. for an 8 a.m. opening at the DMV. Yeah, we are actually getting humidity out here right now. Scott Hansen will keep you on your toes, but don't encourage him because he's incorrigible. Will there be taxi rally topics talking about promoting your music online as an independent artist, acting as your own label? Yeah, in all likelihood, I will probably have either Bobby Borg or maybe Tony Van Veen, who's the CEO of Disc Makers, is really good on that stuff. So both those guys are on my list. I have several songs for listing the deadlines in September 3rd. For some reason, there's no edit button next to my submission. My others, I can edit. I have no idea. I rarely even look at that part of the website. But once again, you would be really smart to email member services or call the taxi number and speak to Liz and or my wife. And they will handle it because I won't. Much as I love you, I don't know beans about that. My job is to run the company and not know why there's a broken edit button. Why is the edit button shown on our profiles? I'm guessing so you can edit a submission. You've realized that sometimes it has an edit button, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for that. I'm not sure. JP's going to email Liz. He's trying to fill time. That's funny. I'm not a dispatch member. Why do I get dispatch emails that I can't respond to? Because it got to the point where so many of our current members were asking us, hey, what's this dispatch thing? How do I find out what they're looking for in dispatch so I can decide if I want to join or not? That we just started making anybody who's a current member and a recently former member, I believe, gets all the dispatch emails so that they can see and make that decision. Richard Carr, I was told last week, if there's an edit button and it hasn't been assigned for review yet. That sounds, you know what? There you go. Because once the stuff is queued up for the screeners, once they've picked the right screener and assigned the screening dates and the screening process has started, which sometimes I've told you, sometimes if it's like a big batch of stuff, they may start a day or two early so that they can hit the deadline on the back end. Other times they start the day of the deadline or the day after. But once they've started screening, we can't leave it open to edit because if we do, a screener could be working on it and that would mess things up severely. Like if you tried to edit a title or replace a mix or something like that. There's Liz answering in the chat room. If the song has already been screened, the edit button will disappear. If the edit button is showing, then you can make changes. So now everybody's going to go in and check every day to see if any of the edit buttons have disappeared. Just so you know, I've mentioned this before on the show, but you do need to know that if your edit button has disappeared and that means your stuff has been screened, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get an email from us letting us know the outcome the following day or something. Because we could have 4 or 5 days of screening. We could have a screener that flakes out on us. We need to bring in a replacement. Getting the right replacement might take 2 or 3 days. Then, as I've mentioned, a listing goes through like 16 steps from what we call ingestion to, I guess we should call it like ingesting to pooping it out. I don't know, but it's 16 steps, and there's quality control in there and all kinds of stuff. So it goes through several steps after the screener has determined if it's a yes or a no. This reminds me of an email I got maybe a week or 10 days ago. And this suggestion comes up all the time from people. They want to know, over the years, people have asked this repeatedly, can I pay extra money on the submission fee? And it seems like they always say, can I pay an extra $2.50? I'd pay $7.50 for a submission if I got moved to the front of the line and my stuff was heard first. I'm thinking that their logic that they're applying is if my stuff gets heard first, then I've got a better chance of getting forwarded because I'm not competing against other people further down the line. But as we all know, there's no such thing as competing against your fellow members. So other people, when we've written back to them and said, so what? Why do you want to pay that and get heard first? Their feeling is that they're going to hear back sooner. So is that something we should be doing? Should there be like an expedite fee? I guess we could probably at least move the stuff where people paid that premium to the front of the line so that right now we don't send out the notifications till everything has been screened and everything has gone through quality control, et cetera, et cetera. It would cost us extra money to move things along in a faster fashion. So let's say 10% of the people who submitted for a particular listing paid that $2.50 premium and paid a $7.50 submission fee. Is that something that's desirable to you guys? I've never thought it was like something that desirable, but the question comes up all the time. Yeah, the point would be to find out sooner. Yeah, the songs are always heard with a fair set of ears. I mean, if you guys really knew whose ears were on your music, you would be delighted. Michael, if there was a line at DMV, would I pay more to get moved up to the front of the line? Absolutely. There's nobody that would say no to that, Scott. Not a living soul on the planet Earth. Il Rosso brings up a good point. Why complicate the company model? Yeah, it's hard enough for people to understand what we do sometimes anyway. So far we've had a couple people say yes, do it. Greg Carrozza says he still has submissions pending from early July. Yeah, like I've told you before on the show, working remotely during COVID has presented the quality hasn't dropped off. The reliability of the screeners when they book a session say, yes, I can work Tuesday afternoon. I just saw a crow poop on one of my tomato plants. Sorry. Oh, man. Anyway, well, that one got fertilized. Yeah, screeners, because they're working out of the house every day now, when they say, yes, I can do it too, we block stuff out. We can use like predictive analysis to know, okay, this listing will probably bring in 185 submissions based on previous listings like that, okay? So we know we're going to have roughly 150, 200 submissions for this particular listing. We know that we've got 3 screeners who are all qualified on that genre. So then we reach out to them and say, okay, you have X amount of work available to you to you, do you want it? And they reply yes or no. They may reply, well, I can't do it early next week, but I could do it like Thursday or Friday of next week. So we put them in the okay if we need them pile. So all kinds of little juggling things happen in the background. Because what we won't do is put a country screener on a pop R&B thing. We won't put a screener who only does instrumental stuff for libraries on songs for film and TV. They have to be checked out and certified, if you will, to work on particular listings. So we could make our lives a lot easier by just going, oh yeah, we got this guy's available and throw him in there. Wouldn't be fair to you guys. So sometimes we are put in position because somebody flakes, or they've got a doctor appointment, or they've got a writing session that comes up, or whatever. All of a sudden they have to flake on us, and then we've got to find a replacement. So sometimes that replacement might take 5 or 6 days to get in the door. I remember years ago we had a case where one of our screeners, who we loved, that worked probably 4 days a week for Taxi, won a trip to Africa, like a month-long photographic safari from National Geographic, and didn't tell us till like the day before he left. And so we had, we would count on that guy. We'd used him for years, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to be gone for about 5 weeks. Ooh, wow. Oh, here's a good. I actually had. Ooh, that just reminded me. A music library owner, and I spent about a half hour on the phone yesterday. I promised him I'd call him back today. How has COVID affected the demand for music from music supervisors? Has the demand dropped off a lot? That's a great question, Scott, and here is the 100% truthful answer. Some of the libraries I've spoken to, which are generally the smaller, newer, not well-seasoned libraries. They may be high quality. Usually their libraries started by somebody that worked for a bigger company and then they ventured out on their own or something like that. Those companies don't have 10 years of relationships under their belt, and they've experienced like a 50 to 70% drop off in requests for music. Now, you might think that that's bad for you guys, but it's actually turned out to be really good because it gave us an open door to say to them, well, you got some time on your hands because there aren't a lot of productions happening, therefore not a lot of music to be pitched to people who are in post-production. So therefore, this is a really good time to refresh your library or add to categories that you don't have enough of. And they went, oh, that's a good idea. So that's why listings have been strong and plentiful during the entire COVID period. We've actually had more listing requests than ever in the company's history. I can tell you that as of last night at 5:30 p.m., we had 75 listings in the bucket that we are preparing to go out the door. And just so you know, we prioritize them. The stuff that needs to run now runs now. The stuff that needs to get screened early gets screened early. The stuff that's like, I could really use some orchestral. When do you need it by? Whatever. That's the stuff that, is number 71 on the list. The stuff that they need quickly is moved up. Okay, so... and then last night I was speaking to one of the library owners that's been in business for like 20, 25 years, works with a lot of big TV shows, has a lot of very strong relationships. And he said that his business has been pretty darn strong. I said, really? Like 100%? He goes, not 100%, but pretty darn strong. And I said, you're not just saying that? He goes, nope, I'm telling you. And he said, and I'm also telling you that when this whole thing lifts, the floodgates are going to open and it's going to be berserko out there, all the people that need music. And he said, speaking of which, and he rattled off a big show, he said they just started hitting him up. While we were in the phone conversation, he got an email asking for like 9 different things or something from a particular show that he works on. So he said, wow, maybe. Yep, new productions. We think that the doors are opening right now, and believe me, there's a lot of chatter out here in California about our governor being less than popular for still having us kind of locked down. Like technically, we can't be in the office. I mean, we've got a couple people there because of a training situation, so it mandated that we had to train in the office. Can't do it remotely with this particular job. Um, but there are a lot of people in California scratching their heads going, why are we still locked down? By the way, I was coming back from the DMV this morning and heard a report on the radio that hospitalizations are way down in California. Infections are always up because they're just testing so many people. But the important thing to know is the number of people on respirators is way, way down. The number of people being hospitalized because of COVID apparently has dropped off considerably in the last 3 weeks, and the number of deaths is starting to go down. But I think, and I could be misquoting this, but I think I'm right, that even though, you turn on the news and they go, oh my goodness, we're up to 170,000 people that have died, which is obviously really, really horrible for the families of those 170,000 people, not to mention how horrible it is for the deceased. But when you look at it, and I hate to make it a numbers thing, but I don't like seeing people be terrified. If you look at it as a percentage of population and the percentage of people that have been infected versus the number of people that died, the United States has one of the best track records out there, if that's a track record you even want to be, on the list for. Yep, people in hospitals are down. I mean, look, you know, um, when I think it was April or May when things were really peaking with COVID, and as much as people don't like to give him credit for it, the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, did it on camera. I saw it with my own eyes. He actually thanked Donald Trump and said, yeah, first they said there's no way that we'll be able to get enough ventilators or hospital beds, blah, blah, blah. And the federal government had that, I think the ship was called the Mercy. I can't remember if that one went to California or New York, but it was there in a matter of days. And then they put all those beds in the Javits Center. So they added all these hospital beds, the vast majority of which never, ever, ever got used. And Andrew Cuomo said, yeah, I've been working with the president on this stuff, and he's been remarkable. Of course, they don't play a lot of that because that wouldn't be very popular on TV, and we all know how the media feels, whether he's done something good or, well, never mind. Anyway, I was heartened to hear that the federal government and the state of New York were working well together, and then lo and behold, like 2 or 3 days later, our governor out here in California went on in front of a camera and said the same thing, that he'd had several meetings with President Trump, and the people within the federal government were being extremely helpful and cooperative and giving him everything. He just did that, I think, yesterday about all the fire support that we need from the federal government. So there you go. I just don't know what to believe about the whole COVID thing. I don't want to get political about it, but I don't like people. I have some friends and family members that are just plain scared. They're just like afraid to be alive. I mean, I literally feel like if they walk outside that they need, a hazmat suit on. I don't think it's that bad. If you're using common sense and avoiding crowded places and washing your hands and wearing a mask, you should be fine. Health sequels of COVID can be huge. If you're talking about TV, yeah, believe me, we were on top of that before anybody else in the industry. Taxi was running those listings. We were reaching out to the companies we work with going, hey, you know what? You might be smart to stock up on music for COVID movies and TV shows now. And they went, oh, what a great idea. So that's why we had that barrage of listings in April and May. I did sound like Darth Vader. I'll probably get dinged on my copyright thing for that. Question from Darren Moss. Are there a lot of AAA radio stations or radio stations that will play new pop rock left in the USA? You know, glad you brought that up, Darren. I thought AAA was a dead format. And recently we had a few AAA listings, maybe a month or two ago. I don't remember now, but not that long ago, sometime during the quarantine period. And I asked somebody I know in the industry, I said, I thought AAA was like a 1994 or 1997 radio format. Is that stuff still around? And they said, yeah. But here's the catch, is AAA was Hootie and the Blowfish, right? This was like in the post-grunge era. Anything that was like singer-songwritery, Sheryl Crow, Hootie and the Blowfish, that stuff was kind of thrown into a AAA bucket, I think. And then apparently now, and I'm just not aware of this, but I was given the lecture recently that AAA exists, but it doesn't sound the same as Sheryl Crow and Hootie and the Blowfish. So you'd be wise to Google it and read up on it and go check out AAA playlists. Actually, that's what they said. Look at the AAA playlists on Spotify. And that way you can understand what AAA is. I think AAA stands for Adult Album Alternative. Basically, it's kind of, I don't know, kind of like FM radio in the late 60s. It's a mishmash of stuff that probably doesn't fit in any other category. Yeah, there you go, Darren Moss. CSUN is Cal State University Northridge. An old friend of mine who used to be a taxi screener is the program director of that station. Yeah, Darren Moss is like in Australia or somewhere on the other side of the planet. So 88.5 out of CSUN. I don't know if he's going to get that on his radio dial, but I'm sure it's online. Go to Cal State University Northridge and look for their radio station. Ooh, John Pearson's an icon. There you go, JP. You've become iconic in your very own time. Let's see what he said. What the heck did he say that was so inspiring? I mean, I like him. I don't find him to be that inspiring. I'm kidding. JP has become a friend. There you go. You can listen on 885.org or 88. Oh, I see. Yeah, got it. 885.org. You got it, ML. What do I got? Last time somebody told me I got it, I was in college and it wasn't good news. Oh, man. Remember, there was a time when anything you could get, you could pretty much fix with an antibiotic. Not so much anymore. And there's a link from Liz. Why can I not remember the screener's name? He was a pretty big time DJ, and then he moved out here, and I want to say he was head of radio promotion for one of the major labels, and he reached out to me for some reason about Taxi. He just thought the company was cool, and when he was moving to LA, I think I picked him up at the airport. Sky Daniels, that's his name. Sky Daniels on 88.5. And I drove Sky around. He told me he wanted to live in the San Fernando Valley, but he wanted to live in a mountainous area and didn't want to pay a fortune, which is hard to do. But I took him out to, Liz, you'll know the answer to this, Box Canyon area. There was a new housing development going up near Box Canyon. And it was cheap because Rocketdyne used to have testing labs out there. So there was a bunch of radiation and rocket fuel embedded in the ground that was leaching into the water supply. So the real estate was really cheap. Sky's no longer there. You're kidding. Wow. He just emailed me. His son was actually a contender for a job at Taxi. Actually, Liz, the job that you got, I believe Sky Daniels' son was on the list of people that we interviewed, if I remember correctly. So good job you probably started that snowball rolling downhill. You got the job, his son was depressed, the whole thing fell apart, Sky Daniels lost his job. Oh, man. Sky Daniels should have been a weatherman. Absolutely. He probably was at some point. Or maybe he was the traffic reporter. That was his first job. A lot of reporters start out as the eye in the sky traffic reporter. Question. We're talking about that fantastic chorus that was written at the top of the show. What about putting it on Taxi Forum so we can have a swipe at it? I can't do that. As a matter of fact, the member has her stuff selected to be private, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, people don't want, especially she wouldn't want to jinx this. You're welcome, Dan Weber. Anyway, speaking of doing it today, it's time to put the taxi back in the garage because it's 5:01 p.m. I will be back tomorrow unless I'm still at the DMV. If I am, I will text Liz, but I know that I've got an 11 o'clock A&R staff meeting tomorrow, so I'm going to try really hard to be obnoxious at the DMV so they put me at the front of the line just to get me out of there in a hurry. Could we do a show on radio formats across the USA, the big ones and the others? Honestly, I'd have to reach out to somebody like Sky Daniels to do that because I don't know enough about it. There was a time when I actually knew a lot about radio, but not today. Robert Orzechowski loves the taxi placement. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. Great to see you all. Have a great night. Did I mention, by the way, that if you haven't watched a new show that we're currently binging called Dead to Me, it's a black comedy. It probably leans a little bit more towards a feminine audience, female audience. But I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's hysterically funny, great acting, great writing. So check that out. Andre's going to be fly fishing off the beach tomorrow at 6 a.m. Take me. Anyway, have a great night, you guys. Check out Dead to Me on Netflix, and I will see you tomorrow. Where's the band? There's the band for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Woohoo! 2 audiences, always better than 1.